Welcome to the Westminster Effects Doxology Podcast, where we explore popular practices, songs, and ideas in the modern church world in the light of Sola Scriptura and Tota Scriptura. I'm Cody Fields, the president of WestminsterEffects.com. Go buy stuff for your guitar at WestminsterEffects.com. I'm just butchering this. Never mind. Join the discussion, the Westminster Effects Doxology Podcast Lounge. Get a coupon code. Make sure you share the show, Facebook and Instagram. And thanks for everybody, or to everybody who participated in the Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals. Thanks for helping me pay bills. I'm joined in person by...
Hey folks, it's Bradley Cox, pastor at Resurrection Church in Greer, South Carolina.
And via the interwebs with his face full of bagel.
No doubt. Hey everybody, John Ross here, Westminster Effects artist, Augsburgian Christian, and just haven't been myself lately from Lincoln, Nebraska.
Haven't been yours. Does this relate to your new title?
It does. It's kind of a lofty thing. I am happy to announce that finally, and I posted this in the Facebook group, but thanks to to my friend Josiah Yankee, who wrote a letter to the governor to get this taken care of. I am now an admiral in the Great Navy of the state of Nebraska. So,
hey,
if I may,
fireworks and whatnot in the background.
If I may, I'll read my commission on the air here. It won't take long. Know ye? Oh, sorry. To all who shall see these presents. Whatever. Greetings. Know ye that reposing special trust and confidence in the patriotism, valor, fidelity, and abilities of John Ross, and knowing you to be a good person and a loyal friend and counselor, I have nominated you and do appoint you an admiral in the Great Navy of the state of Nebraska. You are therefore called to diligently discharge the duties of admiral by doing and performing all manner of things thereto belonging. And I do strictly charge and require all officers, seamen, tadpoles, and goldfish under your command to be obedient to your orders as admiral. And you are to observe and follow from time to time such directions as you shall receive according to the rules and discipline of the Great Navy of the state of Nebraska. This commission to continue in force during the period of your good behavior and at the pleasure of the Chief Admiral of the Great Navy of the state of Nebraska, given under my hand in the city of Lincoln, state of Nebraska, the 2nd day of November, 2021, in the year of our Lord, Pete Ricketts, Governor. So,
I was half expecting you to choke up at some of that, but
no, man, I had my moment. I had my moment. I mean, I called you when you brought it by. I couldn't breathe. I was laughing so hard.
Yeah.
But I did a little bit more digging. So it is the state's high civic honor thing. But I did a little bit of reading on the backstory, and apparently, in the early 1900s, maybe 1920s, the governor was sick or something, and imagine that, and the lieutenant governor had to step up. And so while the lieutenant governor was in place, he was like, I'm only here for a week. I want to do something fun. So he grabbed all of his friends and he made them admirals in the great state Navy of Nebraska, or the Navy of the great state of Nebraska. And it was just like, hey, here's what I did for you. I mean, it's something cool a politician could do, not just under the table, tax credits or something. But yeah, and so it became a tradition, and so I'm joined in my esteem by such others as Johnny Carson, Queen Elizabeth II, and others. I think Bono maybe too.
I honestly thought that you had a boat.
Nope.
That's why you talked about you being a sexy boat captain, is that you liked boating or something like that. Was
I do. I do.
Nautical navigation.
No, I enjoy it. I grew up on the river. I always loved those little, captain's hats and everything. But I'm not stupid. I don't own a boat.
Oh, that's great.
I mean, I thought about it. I thought about
this picture of you like behind the wheel of a ship. Like,
oh yeah, because if I had a boat, it would have a flying bridge, and I'd be like the what is that from Sound of Music? The Admiral next door, has him and that little slave boy. He dances around to ring the bells and swab the roof and whatnot. But
well, defend that shoreline in Nebraska.
Yeah, no doubt. I think the Missouri River is safe in my hands.
I have no transition for that. Let's just jump in.
Ahoy!
There is no possible transition for that. Ahoy, matey.
There you go.
There we go. So, in our Inquisition post this week, Matthew Winter asked a question that's just going to become our main topic today. And he asked, do you ever get burned out on scripture, theology, ecclesiology, apologetics, etc.? When and if you do, how do you stay healthily engaged in the things of God while still trying to allow your brain to cope with the burnout? I went too hard, and now I'm burned out. Not on God, but on delving deep and all that kind of stuff. What should I do? Not everybody at once.
I was waiting on John. John hadn't been on in a couple episodes. I was going to let you roll.
Oh, I see. No, I'm also a face full of bagel and looking at work stuff on the side too. So, by the way, best bagel combination is blueberry bagel with jalapeno cream cheese. If you haven't tried it, try it.
So step one to Matthew Winter: eat a bagel.
Yes, that's
start there.
Yeah. I guess, like, what's the source of the burnout? I mean, okay, diving deep into theology and doctrine and systematics and so on and so forth. Sure. But what about that is causing burnout? Because it's never just the thing. It's what does the thing do? Does it affect your relationship with others? I mean, are you like hyper cage stage and just like screaming at random people about the doctrines of salvation or whatnot? Is it affecting time with children or spouse or family or what have you? I mean, what is it of the item that is actually causing the burnout, or what are things that you can address as part of it? I mean, it's like, I mentioned a couple weeks ago that I taking an extended leave of absence from my role at the church because honestly, I went too hard and I burned out. I was doing so much stuff. Work was getting so crazy. As you all know, I'm not on the show that often anymore. And the last thing I wanted to do, in the middle of the week was pick up a guitar and play, because it turned into work. And so the thing of, it wasn't that I lacked passion for worship or lacked interest in the music or in the gear or in whatever it may be, or in the relationships. It was that I was doing so much that it turned into another job. And that is what burned me out of it. So, for me, taking a step back, reevaluating, how best to integrate that part of my life again is my solution to, fighting that burnout. But, it's difficult with something like study, for instance. Like what part of that has, is it because you've gotten too cynical? Have you gone down the path of being, highly critical when you read maybe a theologian with a differing viewpoint, or something along those lines? That would be my line of questioning. I don't know. I think that's far from an answer, but that's my line of questioning, at least.
Bradley, you get paid to think about this kind of stuff. How about you chime in next?
Well, I mean, good grief. The studying theology, doctrine, even even down to things like leading worship, playing guitar on a worship team. What I do, I teach pretty much every Sunday. All of those things in and of themselves can and will lead to burnout. If we lose sight, this is my theory. If we lose perspective on all of those things, have to be rooted, I think, in two things, maybe three, that kind of relate to one another. Relationship with God, which includes worship and genuine glad-hearted affection, right? Like if you're studying Jonathan Edwards, or you're reading Zwingli, or you're diving deep into theology, into doctrine, wrestling with the doctrines of grace, or whatever it might be, if you're doing all of that stuff and it's not, ultimately, foundationally, fundamentally flowing out of worship, affection, devotion, you're going to burn out. And I think, honestly, I would even go so far to say that the pursuit of those things apart from worship and devotion and affection is pointless. It doesn't lead you anywhere other than you've got information that I think will become stale and stagnant if it's not nurtured in a rhythm of affection and devotion. I think of Revelation 2, where when Jesus instructs John to write to the church at Ephesus, he says, I know your works, I know your toil, you don't put up with false doctrine. All these things that they're doing well, but I have this against you. You have abandoned the love you had for me at first. And so that to me is an indication that Jesus is not interested in an obligatory, affectionless relationship with us, where we just check boxes. So the question would then be, well, what does he instruct them to do, right? Like if that's his problem with them, is they're doing all the right things, but they have no love, what should we do? The interesting thing is he says, go back and do the works you did at first. What are the first things in your relationship with me? And I think about my relationship with my wife. I talk about this in premarital counseling every time we do it, is help a couple identify what their first things are. You remember that with you and Kristen, is that if you're going to nurture affection, I mean, Mary and I can go through life remaining committed to one another and checking all the boxes of life. The kids are taken care of, the bills are paid, the house is clean, the grass is cut. We've gone to work. We've met all our obligations. We've done all the right things. Nobody's cheated on anybody. Nobody's, angry at anybody. We're doing all the right things, but we have no affection. And that's where it's important for us to go back to like date nights, pursuing my wife, courting my wife, even though we've been married almost 23 years. If in my relationship with the Lord, I have to worship. Like it is essential. If I spend all my time reading theology books and wrestling with doctrine, and it never is anchored to worship or leading to worship, I'm going to burn out.
Right.
And I think that is that when people talk about burnout, I think it's very similar to a couple that comes in to see me, and again, on the surface they're doing all the right things, but there's just no love, there's no affection, and suddenly what you find out is they have done nothing to tend that garden in their life and relationship. They've just been checking all the boxes, and I think burnout spiritually, burnout in ministry, is many times an indicator that that's what we're doing. That's why I have to take sabbaticals. It's like I need to just strip all the obligations of ministry away for a season and just focus on my love for Christ, and let that fuel my pursuit of theology, doctrine, growing in the grace and knowledge, serving other people, teaching, leading worship, whatever.
Right.
When you have those first things, it necessarily results in joy, right?
Absolutely.
And it also results in treating those things, even though you're working, you work restfully.
Right.
which sounds contradictory, but I mean, just read the book of Hebrews and you'll get what I'm talking about. There is a rest in all of these things, even though you're pushing that hard. I think there's also some situational awareness that needs to happen sometimes. For instance, when I have trade shows coming up, I'm not reading Calvin, right? I'm not reading the densest thing on the planet. The last time I needed a break, I read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe a couple months ago, right? And it allowed my brain, in terms of what I was ingesting, to reset. And even over the weekend, with it being Thanksgiving weekend, I didn't really listen to a whole lot of podcasts. I listened to Morning Wire to get some news in the morning, and that was it. Right. Other than that, it was, hey, let's listen to some music, particularly that Wolves at the Gate Christmas song. Not quite on repeat, but right. But
I think that's good.
Yeah, like read. The phrase "read the room" comes up. Read yourself. Like, are you exhausted? Is your brain fried? Adapt accordingly.
Brian, my pastor, has encouraged me to read fiction. I don't read fiction very often at all.
Yeah.
I struggle with fiction, but he's encouraged me to read fiction to let my brain rest. I think that's a good thing. If choose good fiction, but
right. Don't read trash.
Yeah.
Don't read the Harlequin romance novels. read good things, Narnia or what have you. Maybe if you're trying to rest, maybe Lord of the Rings isn't the best fiction.
That's my challenge with like the type of fictional literature I prefer is it's hard sci-fi, so it's a lot of facts and figures and numbers and data interspersed in the story. It's not a very relaxing thing, but it is enjoyable. Anyways, I've got 3 shelves next to us here, and they're chock full of they're chock full of theology texts. The last time I cracked one open was to help me understand a part of church tradition. Like, my collegiate background is in theology, and even then, I wasn't reading them every day, but I wonder if we can draw a parallel between reading the great theologians and church fathers to observing church tradition in such a perfect way that it makes you almost a Pharisee. That overwhelming sense of piety for the sake of piety. Being brought up in the Lutheran Church, I mean, we are steeped in tradition, and I think that's a large difference between the Lutheran and the Reformed sides. Even doctrines aside, is that both have history, but the Lutheran side retained a lot of those older church Roman traditions as part of our collective liturgy. And so I used to take pride in, and I still kind of do, but not like gloating pride, more of a pleasedness of having, this creed, that creed memorized, Luther's explanations to these creeds memorized, knowing all the liturgy, knowing what page of the hymnals they were found on, knowing all the facts and figures, right? And that's what I took pride in. I took pride in the accidents, but not the substance. And I wonder if that's a risk that we could draw a parallel to. That even if you don't have a canticle or chant to memorize, I mean, if you're reading through Power and Primacy of the Pope, just so you can say you've read through the treatise on the power and the primacy of the Pope, like,
well, Well, in all honesty, like and I think all three of us would admit to being imbalanced in that way in some way before, right?
Of course.
And it's easy to do in our current American Christian culture where everything is so vapid.
Right.
And so when you do find some substance, there is the cage stage, right? Where, except for Bradley, because he's apparently perfect in that regard, where he never went through the cage stage.
I think it's related to hair, honestly.
The more hair you have, the more cage stage you are.
Right. I think the math works out that way.
There's the cage stage where you just want to let everybody know, like, hey, there's a really good steak over here, right? As opposed to the cotton candy that you've been eating for 20 years. There's the cage stage, but there's also kind of in between what you could call what I've seen on memes, at least, the cage stage and the sage stage, where you're seasoned enough to where you're not really in the cage anymore. You're not freaking out and you're not super boastful, but there is that time in between where you just think you're better than everybody,
right?
Which is easy to fall into.
Yeah.
And I think that a risk in this is, it does come back to motivations a bit, is if we're trying to do, like, if in our heart of hearts, our motivation for doing something is to glean the approval of others, right? Yeah. We've talked about this when it comes to like gear and stuff, right? It's like, why do you need 8 Strymon pedals and just features you'll never ever use, or a custom hand wired this or that or the other thing? Is it because you see the benefits there, or is it because you want to impress people on Instagram or you want to impress people on Facebook? And I think honestly it can be the same things. Are you reading the church fathers to garner a better, deeper understanding of the confession of the church? Are you learning and memorizing the liturgy to help you in your own personal worship, to have that liturgy be a liturgy of the heart? Or are you doing it so you can tell others, look at how great I am? Because if it's the latter, you'll never be satisfied. Ever, 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 ever. I remember when I was a kid, this was like in like summer daycare, right? When school was out of session, my parents were working, and summer daycare at Zion Lutheran Church in Clinton, Iowa. I took apart a calculator because I thought that was cool, right? And I took apart a calculator at home. I took apart a calculator at home, and I saw the solar panel, and you could put your finger over it and pull it off, and then you could then switch it around and wouldn't do anything, but you could take the solar panel and you can move it to a different, do it to where the batteries would go and it would still work because the voltages were the same. And I was like, this is so cool. And I bet other people would think I were cool if I brought, a broken calculator to daycare to show them this. And, of course not. They're like, why the heck you break a calculator? It's stupid. It's because I wanted to positively affect the view, the viewpoint or the stature that I have in others' eyes. And if that's what we're going down when we keep our nose in theology books, right? If the goal is to make ourselves so pious and so religious that we assume that people are going to be like, wow, look at him, we've lost the plot. The whole point of Scripture, and as it's exposited in all of these theology books, except for a couple that I keep on hand for humor reasons, the whole point is the name of the podcast, Doxology to the Glory of God. Nothing we do should point to us.
Yep.
It should benefit those around us and always point to Christ. Oh, I don't know. There you have it. Read a different book. Jesus still loves you. But don't go cagey on that book either, because then...
Just don't go cagey anyway.
Right.
Just don't do it.
Right. We
You
need
got
shirts.
anything else, Bradley?
We need shirts about that.
I mean, I think Jesus, when asked, what's the greatest commandment, he quotes from Deuteronomy and says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, and your strength. I mean, I think, I agree with what John said. I mean, if our focus is loving him and glorifying him in our joy in him, then I think that's we can be fairly confident that we're not going to burn out. I think we'll, I don't think that, I said this the other Sunday, that, a relationship with God is, it's not a devotional selfie every day. When you see the people, they post a picture of themselves with their Bible open, their coffee and a fire and beautiful scenery. And it's like, I think that's an effort to get attention. It's like exercise selfies. It drives me crazy when people do this. And they start a new exercise program, and for about 2 weeks, they're taking selfies of themselves every morning when they do their morning run. Oh, I just finished my morning run. And it's like, just exercise because that's good for you.
We'll just go ahead and acknowledge that Bradley just called out my wife. But
I did not call out your wife.
No. Okay. So
but you know what? Here's the deal. Here's the difference.
All right.
Kristen exercises all the time.
yes.
Okay. I'm talking about people that they're just incredibly inconsistent with everything.
Yep.
Right. There's a difference. I mean, if social media can either represent our true selves or what we want to be our true self. And I think that becomes clear over the course of time. Right. So if you're cage stage Calvinist, or if you're a cage stage theology nerd in general, it's going to come to bear. Like it's going to be clear whether or not all your passion and excitement is rooted in a love for God and a desire to bring him glory, or it's just rooted in, hey, I'm smart and I know this now and I see this now. And that's a fleeting passion as opposed to a lasting one. That's the difference between Kristen and the folks that turn over a new leaf every January with their fitness or their Bible reading, or they're going to stop drinking so much alcohol, or they're going to this, or they're going to that, is they don't have a good root motivation. And I think burnout is, I don't want to sound too critical here, because I have been burnt out recently. Recently, I've been burnt out, and I had to be willing to admit that my core affections had gotten off and needed to be reset. Right.
Yep. And then you hit reset and you came back with a ton more energy.
Exactly. So everybody has to do that. I'm not trying to sound like I'm on some sort of soapbox and anything like that. I hope I haven't come across that way.
Nope.
But anyway.
No, I mean, I think this is just the banter of people who have been through burnout and have taken a deep look at the why, because we burnt out of things that we cared so deeply for. I mean, that's certainly me with worship music, right? Is I adore it. Even the corny stuff, everything but Mercy Me and Lauren Daigle, I love, and For King Country, and a few others. But most all of it, and
I did a funeral the other day where somebody wanted the casket rolled out to Happy Dance by Mercy Me.
Oh, good grief. She has put him in the furnace already.
I don't know.
I won't say anything else. I'm just stating fact.
Let's go to the Inquisition.
And this is the Inquisition, where you give us our questions via weekly posts in the Westminster Effects Doxology Podcast Lounge, and we in turn do a happy dance to the tune of Mercy Me.
No.
As is tradition. As is tradition, we start with Brian Morris, who asks, "What's on your Christmas list?"
I actually
world peace, like the Miss America world peace,
Okay.
does not count.
Oh, I was going to say, Cody, is that your answer?
No.
I was like, world peace would be a given. I'm like, oh, here he comes.
Well, I got a relatively nice bike helmet on the list that I'm pretty sure I'm going to get. I already got the upgraded putter from my dad, so I don't have to use the one that looks like it's from Frankie's Fun Car.
No, man, I love that putter.
Yeah, you love it because it's funny.
Yeah, it's hilarious. He looked like he just totally stole a putter from some
a putt course.
place.
Yeah. But
I mean, I would love not to look like an absolute joke when I use my golf clubs. Like,
yeah,
that'd be awesome.
But yeah, upgraded bike helmet. I'm pretty excited about that because I just got a cheap one to start with a year ago, and it's too heavy. It's too heavy for longer rides. Fellers?
Micah actually asked me this morning. He's like, what do I have for Christmas? And, I told him, I was like, Micah, I don't need anything. I don't need a pedal or strings or a new tool or any of that stuff. And I told him, the things that mean the most to me are things that are, that speak to others' investment in who I am and what I like. And he was like, oh, okay. Like, almost relieve some pressure. But then I was thinking, I was like, you know what? It's like I grind my coffee beans fresh every day, right? And I brew it in sometimes Chemex, sometimes French press, sometimes drip. And I was like, but it never gets to like that coffee shop drip machine. Like, there's something there, right? And I do everything the right way. And so I'm like, maybe there's something to be like, you can't just get by with Mr. Coffee. Like, you got to go to the next level. So maybe a really nice drip coffee maker would be cool. But other than that, it's the gifts that mean the most to me are things that speak to who I am. A number of or like the Admiralty thing, right? Like that showed such investment in not only something that the three of us have done together, but a running joke, and it was a riot. But a number of years ago, my wife bought me an Oscar Schmidt Delta King. It's like a 335 sort of style, and it wasn't an awesome gift because, hey, new guitar. It was an awesome gift because it was an expression of her appreciation in her value in me and my investment in that hobby, right? Or my passion for that hobby. So that's my stuff. That's my
John
shtick.
just took the high road there.
Good job.
Bradley, are you going to be a little more vain for us?
Yeah.
6-pack of Bud Light.
That's all I need. No, we're going to Disney World. We're taking the kids.
Nice.
We leave January 10th, and so all that it's not going to be total. Like, there's maybe a present or two to open, but we've just asked for parents, grandparents, whatever, to give money towards that. The kids.
Oh yeah, when you're paying $12 for a Dole Whip.
For real, exactly. But we went in 2017 was the last time we went. And it was just such good family time. And they've got the whole new Star Wars thing, which my kids love Star Wars. So we're going to go and walk 40,000 steps a day. And I'm going to complain about the crowds, but we're going to have some really good time with our kids. So that, other than, I think Mary talked me into ordering myself some new running shoes. Which
probably a good call.
I just don't. I don't know. I am not a present guy. I don't give gifts well, and
I'm pretty much the same.
I would rather somebody call me and say, "Hey, I want to take you to lunch," or like that. To me was, I don't know. That's just the way I am.
Yeah. Next question from James Quinn: are you an old Earth or young Earth guy? And does the age of the Earth matter in the long run in apologetics? So personally, this might be where we all disagree a little bit. I am an old Earth creation guy from natural revelation and from the text, I think. But I don't think that the age of the Earth matters for apologetics. I think whether Adam and Eve existed matters in apologetics. If you don't have Adam and Eve being historical figures, you got real big problems.
Well, yeah. I mean, the doctrine of original sin and
right. But whether the Earth is 1 billion years old or 6,000 years old, apologetically, whether all of these things happened, I don't think is the big deal.
I mean, I think I would agree with you. I think, I might tend to say old Earth, young humanity.
Sure. Yeah.
Like that would be because I fully agree that Adam and Eve, if they cease to be real figures, then that unravels not just eschatology, but it unravels a huge chunk of Paul's argument in Romans about the gospel. Right. So I think I would tend to say old Earth, young humanity.
And I'm going to be inclined to really say the same, if not similar. So it was interesting. This came up just Sunday afternoon. I was helping Lars, our sound guy at the church, move a couch, and the official doctrine of the LCMS is young Earth creationism. And that's mostly derived from the usage of the word yom to describe day in the Pentateuch, right? Mm-hmm. And so yom doesn't refer to the concept of day; it refers to the length of time of a day, and that's where that usually gets to. And Lars brought up, it's like, hey, a couple of weeks ago in one of his sermons, he kind of just glossed over it because it wasn't really the point, but. He said, Earth 6,000 years old or something like that. And Lars was like, I just don't think I can get on board with that. Like, I don't sure. I agree that, if God saw fit to create us a old Earth in 6 days, well, that's fine. But we don't really see anything but we also really don't see the opposite. So we're kind of having to juxtapose a scriptural revelation with natural revelation, and I absolutely agree about the apologetics piece. I mean, the how creation played out is certainly a secondary issue, but I mean, Adam and Eve, man and the woman. That is 100% is one of the foundations of the entire salvation narrative throughout Scripture. So we can't really gloss over that. But yeah, I would be inclined to say old Earth as well. I don't. But I'm not a Hebrew scholar, and so I can't dissect the usage of yom. In that, and so there's part of me that's like, yeah, but maybe, so when I hear, millions of whatever, like, I mean, okay, like I'm not going to be offended by, National Geographic saying the Earth is, however billion years old. Because I can also, either way, I can grasp in my head that God, in His wisdom and His sovereignty, has created something that is very old, that is very new. So I can go both ways, but I think just cognitively, I kind of err on the side of old Earth.
Yeah, Creator in the Cosmos by Hugh Ross, really good book. Go look it up. Lots of nerddom and lots of exponential figures. So last question from Casey Starnes. We'll end on a fun one. If Bradley got really into electric guitar and asked you to build him a pedal board, what would you put on it?
Ooh.
Well, Bradley, if you got really into electric guitar, what would you be playing on that electric guitar?
Well, my personality and playing style, I think, would tend towards power chords, power stance, lots and lots of dirty, like in your face kind of I think if I was into electric guitar, I would probably be into metal. Like honestly, if that would be more how I play.
Yeah.
I mean, you've played with me long enough to know how I play.
You describe yourself as a banger.
I'm a banger. I like banging. I don't want to have to think about. Yeah, don't go too far with that. I don't want to have to think about like so many nuances and fingering. I want a big power chord that I can strum the heck out of.
Yeah,
and then make a nasty.
Okay, so maybe first thing, noise gate.
Noise gate. Definitely noise gate. So maybe we're talking more mid 2000s pop punk, Newfound Glory, Blink 182, Reliant K, that kind of stuff. It's a bunch of power chords.
Yeah, I could dig it.
Maybe an Osteen distortion set on lower gain.
Okay.
Maybe a chorus pedal. The Chrysostom comes to mind for the clean tones.
For the clean stuff. I mean, if we're limiting ourselves to the Westy things, E89 V2 stacked is one of my favorite favorite drive tones.
Or the Physician. Or the Physician.
Physician isn't. It doesn't have that same sparkle to it though. It's but it's not as Blizzard of Nailsy. It's more of a creamy high gain.
Blizzard of Nail. It doesn't get the Swedish black metal chainsaw tone.
Right.
Like
By the way, complete segue. Amazon Music a few weeks ago presented to me based upon your listening, and it was a Scandinavian metal praise. Oh my gosh, it's great. It's like mid 2000s praise choruses done in like. I mean, these are some like Vikings recording this stuff, and it's great.
That'll cure burnout right there.
Please send me that.
That'll cure burnout right there.
Just play 16th notes as much as you can and turn up the treble.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I would do that. You know, maybe toss a compressor on there, just really light compression at the beginning. But one of those. If we're going mid 90s, what are those bottom boosters? Ibanez made one, and a few others. It's just racks up the bass frequencies a little bit, or EQ pedal or something.
Get it beefy.
Yeah, it's got to be beefy.
Yep.
We'll make it beefy. Well, there you go. There's
who asked that question?
Casey Starnes.
Who is a bit of a meme lord.
Now, here's the thing, Bradley. If you played electric guitar, what guitar would you play?
I have no idea. I mean, I really know nothing about.
Don't talk about models. Just like think of a musician, like a guitar player, and like, oh, he played a cool one. Like, like Marty McFly from Back to the Future. Or
I like that. I do like Eddie
Van Halen, or Newfound Glory, right there. We found it. There he is. Newfound Glory Goldfinger. The hollow 335 sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that one. I don't know. Maybe that looks a little bit Chet Atkins to me, though. I think something that looks me, not quite the V. Like the V's not me.
Explorer,
maybe a Firebird.
Yeah.
Oh yes, yeah. A traditional like Firebird 3 style. That's Bradley in the two-tone Sunburst.
There you go. There you go. What does it look like?
There we go.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right there. That's all about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love it.
All right. Here you hear first, folks. Bradley on his Christmas list is a Gibson Firebird.
Thanks for thinking of me, Casey.
Hey, if they made me an admiral, we can make Bradley an electric guitar player.
Why not? Why not?
Oh, boy, howdy. On that note, thanks for listening to the Westminster Effects Doxology Podcast. Go love God, love your neighbor, make some music. We'll see you next week.